Ahsoka episode 6. They said that 5 was going to be the best, but so far, in my humble opinion, number 6 was the best. We finally get Thrawn. Finally. The big bad has arisen. He was in another galaxy hanging out with the witches, the night witches. Something that I noticed, something I gotta say, I gotta tell this one thing, something that I noticed. This may be kind of spoilery, but when the one Jedi, the evil one, I think his name's Balin, is there and he's giving orders and all that kind of stuff. He's got his apprentice, but there's another dude with him, Marco. And Marco isn't a Sith. He's not a Sith, and he's not a Jedi, because they have the order of 2, right? So there can only be 2, a master and an apprentice, with the Sith or with the Jedi. So I was wondering, who's that dude hanging out with them? And then he brings his sword and it starts spinning. I'm like, okay, all right, this dude's an Inquisitor. You can have those too. So you got an Inquisitor there, but I'm still wondering why is he hanging out with them? Then when he gets defeated, gas shoots from his chest and he crumbles to the ground. Here's what I think. When they show Admiral Thrawn, and he's been there for 5-10 years or whatever, trapped away in this foreign place with, a few battalions of men and one starship, I'm thinking, okay, all right, this dude probably had it rough there. They know that there's bandits, there's wild animals, there were the night witches. They probably had to make friendly with them, So they were probably in a lot of fights. You can look at their armor and tell that they had been beaten up a lot. There's still a lot of them there, but you can tell that they caught that beating. They were getting the business. You can tell that by their armor. Now, a lot of the soldiers, a lot of them, maybe half of them, maybe more than half, had red, cloth wrapped around their bodies, their feet, around their necks, all over the place. They had red cloth. Here's what I suspect. Because Thrawn tells her that the Jedi and the witches all use death as a deception. So, meaning to me, the way I took that was, if you're strong enough and you use the Force, you don't really die. Die is just a deception. It's not real. So Marco was a servant for Balin, but more to the point, he was a servant for that night witch, right? I think she took someone's spirit and hocus pocused it into that body. And when he was killed, it shot out. Also, I think that the reason that Admiral Thrawn still had so many troops was because the night witches there hocus pocus alakazammed their bodies back into the. So these are actually, in my opinion, we'll find out in an episode or two, these are probably stormtrooper zombies, is what I'm thinking. Because the night witches can bring people back. That's how Maul came back twice. The night witches brought him back. I think the night witches brought back Marco, I can't remember that dude's name. And they brought him back, that one witch, so that she would have an assistant, and she sent him with the guy. I think that those guys are stormtrooper zombies, which really piqued my interest. I was like, wait a minute. They're stormtroopers, but the stormtrooper zombies, that was interesting. So there's that. They had a lot going on in this episode. They introduced bandits who, to me, sounded a lot like and looked like and acted like sand people. So I guess it's their planets, their universe, their galaxies version of like the sand people. But they were all in samurai type gear. Since the beginning, Star Wars has been a mix, a little sprinkle of cowboy movies. Also, a little sprinkle of some sci-fi stuff, some sci-fi tropes. Also, a little sprinkle of the whole samurai, Japanese samurai thing. And I've dug that, you know, Vader's helmet, the stormtroopers, that dude Enoch, he's like the second in command for Thrawn. You know, they all have like samurai type gear. So another theory, this is a galaxy far, far away a long time ago. Maybe some of them came to Earth and influenced Earth sometime in the future. Maybe. That would be interesting. That would be a good story. But it looks like Thrawn is on his way back to the regular galaxy. I'm not too threatened by Thrawn, and I'm not too certain of Ahsoka because in the newer movies and the newer TV stuff, neither one of them is around. So I can only assume that either they're fighting in the background somewhere, which I can't imagine someone with the ego of Thrawn in the background of anything, or someone with the skill of Ahsoka in the background. So I guess they die, man. They gotta die, right? Or else they're going to change canon some kind of way and make it that they're still there. But I mean, they're going to change the stories. These are some interesting stories that they're making, and I think that they're either going to change the stories we know to keep these characters, or they gotta die because they're not in the new stuff. So I'm curious about where they're going. I only got 2 more episodes left, so I'm curious about what they're going to do. This Star Wars is now a Disney product, so Disney has a tendency of making their stories into big buck stories. So everything leads into something. You watch this movie, now that's not the end of it. You've got to see the next movie in order to see where it goes. Wait a minute, let's make a prequel. Let's show what happened before this. Disney does that. So I can only assume that this is going to lead into something bigger. It's got to. It's got to. It's a good story. I like it. There's a lot of people who finally show up. It's at the end, so I'm wondering what that's going to be all about. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this one. Only one lightsaber fight. It was a good one though. It was a good lightsaber fight. But only one lightsaber fight. But they introduce new civilizations. They introduce the Night Witches at their home. And they seem to be a terrifying force. The Force is everywhere. It's intergalactic and it's in different galaxies and the whole 9 yards. Different people have learned to use it. The Jedi use it one way, the light side of the Force. The Sith use it another way, the dark side of the Force. The Night Witches use it, magic with a K. Animals apparently use it. The Purgle, those giant whales, they use it. Those wolves, they use it. The Knights of Ren, they use it. There's a ton of people who are using the Force now. When I was a little kid, it was just the Jedi and eventually others that we were introduced to as the Sith. But that was it. Now it's everywhere. Everybody's got, everybody's Force sensitive. Or they're kind of making it seem like the Jedi and the Sith are newer to using the Force than some other people. So it will be interesting to see what the Night Witches bring with their hocus pocus, Sith, Jedi combination type Force magic. I'm curious because I'm thinking, wouldn't they be more powerful than either a Jedi or a Sith because they've been doing it longer? If you're in good shape and you've been in the gym for a year and there's another guy that's dedicated and has been there for 3 years, he's probably in better shape. He's probably stronger. He's been doing it longer. Same thing. The witches have been doing it longer, so it seems like they'd be stronger. But I don't know. One thing, they can actually smell or sense Jedi. I'm assuming they can do the same thing with Sith, but they could feel that there was a Jedi presence when nobody else, I guess, could really tell. They could tell it was a Force user, but they didn't know it was a Jedi. And then they could feel Ahsoka coming. She hasn't even crossed the galaxy yet, but she's coming, and they could feel it, that she was coming, man. They got to be stronger. They got to be stronger. And the guy Balin, the one, you know, the Ray Stevenson character, he was surprised when he saw what the Night Witch could do. He took a step back and was like, magic. It surprised even him. So it's beyond what they can do. I want to know what he's up to, because he's got a plan that nobody else knows about. And Thrawn's got a plan. I feel like the Joker. Everybody's got a plan. He's got a plan. They've got a plan. They've all got plans. And I'm wondering what's next. I'm really curious to see what happens next week. But I would give Ahsoka so far, because it got better. This episode made it so much better. I would give this series so far, with the add of this, you know, it was a bland meal, but this episode sprinkled a little salt on it, put a little pepper on it. We've probably got friends that don't use that much seasoning. This episode was seasoning. Maybe even a little gravy and a cold drink. Made the meal better. Since this episode made the meal so much better, I'm going to give this episode and now the season 7 bags of, it's almost 8. If the next one's good, it's going to be 8. 7 bags of popcorn. 7 bags of popcorn. Because that's what I think about that. More importantly, what do you think about that? Now that you had a chance to see the video, let's talk about it in the comments. And as always, if you like the video, if you like the content, subscribe. And then like.
Popcorn passport. Get your popcorn passport. Popcorn passport.